This is my final message before I call her my wife. This is it. The last time I'll speak like this. As a man who's still waiting, still hoping, still watching her from across the room and thinking, that's her, that's the one. Because after this, she's no longer the girl I talk about. She's no longer the woman I dream of. She's the one I stand beside, officially, fully, with no more questions, only commitment. But before I put that ring on her finger, before we exchange the words that tie us together in front of everyone, I needed to say this just once, so there's no doubt left in her heart. She changed my life, not with grand gestures, not with some perfect fairy tale moment, but in the way she showed up when life got quiet. She showed up when I was unsure of everything. She didn't wait for me to be perfect. She met me right in the middle of my mess and said, we'll figure it out together. That's when I knew. Love doesn't always scream or shine. Sometimes it just stands beside you quietly without asking for attention, without needing to be chased. It just stays. And she stayed. When I was cold, she stayed warm. When I was confused, she was calm. When I shut down, she didn't walk away. She waited for me to come back. And every single time, I did. Not because I was trying to keep her, but because I realized I didn't want a future she wasn't in. And no, it hasn't always been smooth. We've argued, we've gone silent, we've had moments where both of us questioned if we were strong enough to keep going. But somehow we kept choosing each other, not just when it was easy, but especially when it was hard. So this is my message to her, before we stand in front of everyone, before we sign anything, before titles change and people start calling her my wife. I need her to know something first. I need her to know she didn't just walk into my life, she rebuilt it, piece by piece, without rushing, without forcing, without expecting me to be a finished product. She saw the broken parts I tried to hide, the wounds I laughed off, the fears I buried deep under silence, the parts of me I didn't want anyone to notice. And somehow, she chose to stay, not because she wanted to fix me, but because she believed healing could happen if love was patient enough. And that's what she gave me. Patience. She waited while I unlearned everything I thought love was. She waited while I stopped reaching for validation from the world and finally started learning how to receive love without running from it. You see, before her, I didn't believe in forever. I believed in moments, in seasons, in good days that eventually faded. But she changed that, not by convincing me, not with pressure, but by consistency. She showed up on the days when I didn't deserve it, on the nights when I was distant, on the mornings when my pride was louder than my gratitude. She kept choosing me. Not because I was easy to love, but because she saw something worth loving underneath all the noise. And now, before I call her my wife, before the vows, the music, the ceremony, I want her to hear me say this. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me when I was still unsure of myself. Thank you for loving me, even when I didn't know how to love you the right way yet. Thank you for being gentle when life was anything but. Thank you for never turning your love into a weapon, even when I gave you reasons to be angry. You didn't need to fix me. You just gave me a space where I could grow. You gave me time. You gave me honesty. You gave me a version of love that didn't feel like a test. And now, I'm ready, not just to marry you, but to honor you, to show you every single day that you didn't waste your heart on the wrong person, to stand beside you, not just as your man, but as your safe place. Because this isn't about wearing a ring. It's about what that ring will mean. It'll mean I'm showing up when I'm tired. It'll mean I'm listening, even when it's uncomfortable. It'll mean I'm protecting your peace like it's mine. It'll mean I'll never stop learning how to love you better. Because you are not someone I plan to love out of habit. You're someone I want to love on purpose. So this is my final message. As the man who used to second guess everything, who used to question whether he was ready, who used to fear love would eventually fall apart, like it always did. But you changed that. And I'm not afraid anymore. I don't want a perfect marriage. I want a real one. I want the kind of love where we grow through things, not just go through them, where we argue, yes, but we listen, where we misunderstand each other sometimes, but we never let ego be louder than care. That's what I've learned with her. She taught me that being in love isn't about always agreeing, it's about always returning, coming back after the silence, coming back after the tears, coming back not to win, but to understand. There were times when I let pride lead the conversation, when I let distance feel easier than honesty, when I thought being strong meant being cold. But she never met me with more distance. She met me with grace, not blind forgiveness, but real, patient, steady love. Love that said, I see the mess, but I also see the heart underneath it. And now that we're here, at the edge of everything we've prayed for, everything we worked for, everything we cried for, I want her to know something very clearly. I don't love the idea of her. I love the reality of her. I love how she gets quiet when she's hurt, not because she wants to punish me, but because she's trying not to say something she'll regret. I love how she overthinks when she feels something deeply, not because she's insecure, but because she cares more than she lets on. I love the way she walks into a room and makes it feel softer, not because of how she looks, but because of what she carries. Her peace, her presence, her strength. I've been around people who made life louder, more chaotic, more performative. But she slowed everything down. She made the quiet feel warm. She made stillness feel like safety. And when I look at her now, knowing in just a little while I'll call her my wife, I don't feel fear. I feel ready. Not ready for perfection, not ready to never make mistakes, but ready to fight for her, to protect her peace, to build something with her that lasts longer than feelings, or mood swings, or outside opinions. So this is my final message before the world sees her walking toward me, in white, in grace, in power. I'm not just waiting at the altar for a bride. I'm standing for a future, one we'll build brick by brick, fight by fight, kiss by kiss, and day by day, with honesty, loyalty, and love that never stops choosing each other. There's a moment right before everything changes, and I feel it now. It's quiet, not the kind of silence that comes from emptiness, but the kind that comes right before something sacred, like the still air before rain. The pause before a heartbeat says yes. And in this moment, before I call her my wife, I keep thinking about the things I never said enough, and the things I'll never stop saying from now on. Like how grateful I am, truly, for her patience. Because I know I didn't always make it easy. I know I didn't always say the right thing. I know I wasn't always present, even when I was physically there. Sometimes I shut down when I should have opened up. Sometimes I walked away from hard talks. When she was begging for connection, but she never held those things against me like a weapon. She held them like they were breakable, and me right along with them. She never loved me from a distance, even when she probably should have. She never waited to be impressed by me. She just kept showing up with love that didn't need an explanation to be real. And now that we're here, on the edge of forever, I want to give her more than just vows. I want to give her something I've never fully given anyone before. My full presence. Not just my body in the room. Not just my voice in the moment. But my attention. My effort. My energy. Because I've learned that being a husband isn't just about titles or rings or saying I do. It's about choosing every day to see her, not just with my eyes, but with my heart. It's about asking how her soul is doing, not just how her day went. It's about protecting her peace, even when the world around us is chaos. It's about being the man she can be soft around, without feeling like she's too much. And maybe most of all, it's about being the place she calls home, when everything else feels heavy. I want to be that for her. Not just on the days we celebrate, but on the days when we're quiet, when we're tired, when we forget to say I love you because life got too loud. Even then, especially then, I'll show up. I'll remember what this message meant, what this moment means. Because when I look at her, I don't see someone I have to marry. I see someone I get to marry, someone I get to fight for, laugh with, grow beside, build a world with. And if one day our kids ask, why did you choose her? I'll say, because no one else made me feel safer just by standing next to them. Because love like this isn't loud. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It doesn't need big announcements. It just shows up quietly, consistently, powerfully. That's what she did for me. So when she walks toward me and I call her my wife for the first time, understand this, it's not just a wedding, it's a homecoming. There's one thing I kept thinking about last night as I sat quietly, holding this message in my hands, my final message before everything changes. It was this: how do you repay someone who stayed, even when leaving would have made more sense? And the truth is, you can't repay love like that. Not with words, not with flowers, not with rings, or big moments, or promises made in front of a crowd. You repay that kind of love by being better. Every single day. Not better because you are afraid of losing her, but better because you finally understand what it means to be chosen. See, we live in a world where loyalty is rare, where most people run the moment things feel hard, where it's easier to start over than it is to grow roots. But she didn't run. She stayed during the parts I'm not proud of. She stayed when I didn't even recognize myself. She stayed when all I had to offer was hope. And that's why I'm standing here now. Not as a man who finally got the girl, but as a man who finally became ready for her. Because love isn't about winning. It's about rising. And I had to rise. I had to rise from the old patterns, from the selfishness, from the fear of being fully seen and still fully loved. And now that I've done that, I want to give her the kind of love that's steady, the kind that doesn't make her question if she's safe, the kind that doesn't punish her for being emotional, or strong, or tired, or honest. I want her to know that, from this moment on, she never has to ask for reassurance. She never has to wonder if I still choose her. She never has to chase my attention, or earn my affection, or beg me to show up, because I've already made the decision, and that decision is her. And it's not based on feelings, because feelings change, they shift, they rise and fall with mood, with weather, with pressure. This decision is based on something deeper: respect, understanding, commitment, the kind that says, even on the days when I don't feel close to you, I will still choose to be kind. I will still choose to be gentle. I will still choose to be yours. Because marriage isn't about always being happy. It's about always being here. In the room, in the fight, in the story. And I'm here, all in. No exit plan, no if this doesn't work, I'll leave option. Just us. So, to the woman I'm about to call my wife, know this. You didn't wait on a perfect man. You waited on a man who finally became ready. And now that I am never letting go,